In this video, we'll again cover the weird and interesting origins of 4 commonly used English phrases. Challenge yourself to guess each phrase before it's revealed. It's 1696, and the English government is grappling with a financial crisis. To replenish the royal treasury, King William III introduces a controversial new tax, the window tax. Under this law, homeowners are charged based on the number of windows in their homes. On paper, it seems fair, targeting wealthier homeowners with larger estates, but in practice, it causes chaos. For the wealthy, it's little more than an inconvenience, but for the poor, it's devastating. Families who can't afford the tax are forced to brick up their windows, plunging their homes into darkness. The masses begin to see the tax not just as an economic burden, but as theft, robbing them of the daylight that rightfully belongs to all. The window tax remains in place for over 150 years, lasting until the mid-19th century. By then, it had come to symbolize injustice and greed, inspiring a phrase that captures the essence of brazen exploitation. The phrase, daylight robbery. The next story takes us to America in the early 1800s, where boys in small towns had a curious way of settling disputes. When tempers flared, a crowd would gather to watch as 2 rivals faced off, locking eyes in a tense standoff. But instead of diving straight into a brawl, one boy would stoop down, pick up a small wood chip, and carefully place it on his shoulder. Why a wood chip? Well, in towns surrounded by lumber yards, chips of wood were everywhere, making them an obvious choice. Placing one on the shoulder became a bold, wordless dare, a visible challenge to knock it off and escalate the fight. Over time, this ritual moved beyond physical confrontations, evolving into a phrase that describes anyone carrying resentment or a readiness to take offense. The phrase, chip on your shoulder. The next origin story still finds us in the early 1800s, but we head all the way to China, to the port of Canton, modern-day Guangzhou. It was the center of international trade in China at the time, where American and European merchants set up trading quarters to work alongside Chinese laborers to meet the growing Western demand for goods like tea, silk, and porcelain. However, the language barrier made communication difficult. To bridge the gap, a simplified form of English called Cantonese Pidgin English emerged. It was a practical mix of English words and Cantonese expressions, enabling more efficient communication in a fast-paced trading environment. One Pidgin English phrase that took root came from the Cantonese expression chup chuk, which translates to hurry up. Chinese laborers often used this doubled expression to encourage speed and precision in their work. Western traders, hearing it repeatedly, began to mimic the expression, but they adapted the pronunciation to fit Western speech patterns, creating a new and unique phrase. And by the mid-1800s, the phrase spread beyond the Chinese docks and into everyday English. Today, it's used as a playful way to nudge someone into action. The phrase? Chop chop. The last origin story takes place in the early 20th century, where Europe is gripped by the devastating reality of World War I. We're on the Western Front, which stretches from Belgium to France. Here, soldiers huddle in deep, muddy trenches, their only shelter from persistent enemy fire. Between these opposing trenches lies no man's land, a barren expanse filled with barbed wire and craters from relentless shelling. In these trenches, soldiers await orders from their commanders. When the command finally comes, the soldiers must hoist themselves up and over the top of the trench and charge into battle. This maneuver tests courage like no other, and a phrase takes shape among the soldiers to describe this daring act. The phrase, over the top. Directly after the war, over the top becomes part of everyday speech, describing any action taken with boldness or excess. Well, that's it. Let's recap. You just learned about daytime robbery, chip on your shoulder, chop chop, and over the top. And now you know their origins. Go tell somebody. And like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Thanks for watching.